um, several days in a row now. So some days people pop in, some days they don't. It's all good either way. I appreciate it when you do. I appreciate you watching later if you do. Um, Really, as I mentioned every single time, uh, I go live and I read from my blog. It's a way of um, taking the creativity of the morning and extending it to the afternoon, because I find that being in dialogue, being in dialogue, including my post, is just a way um, of being inspired, of being creative. Um, it all flows together. It all is sort of one stream of um, dialogue from whatever source of inspiration, uh, wherever it's derived from, wherever you feel the credit is due, and then just continuing all the way through um, to this conversation, and then later. I think the way to think of it, the way to approach it, is there's no end to inspiration. There's no end to creativity. Um, there's just moments when we're less aware of um, its presence. Although I would say more, it's a matter of attention. Awareness is ever present. There's no point when we're not aware. Some people might say, well, deep sleep. Um, Deep sleep isn't the absence of awareness, it's the absence of having something to be aware of. Um, it's the same with being unconscious. Being unconscious doesn't mean we're unaware. It just means that there is nothing appearing within consciousness for us to give our attention to. It's the withdrawal of the senses. Um, I know of people who have been um, fully conscious um, during surgery. They had, good morning. How are you doing? I see you got your 5 pumps in already. Not much left. At the end of the day, you get your 5 pumps in, and um, that's pretty much everything's covered. Everything else is cake after 5 pumps or Navy SEALs. Um, I got my Navy SEALs in. I threw in some parallel bar work for the first time in probably 3 years, and immediately regretted it, especially as I feel myself taking a tumble backwards after doing my last round. It's a lot of fun though. It's a good way of keeping continuous tension on the muscle. Um, if anyone pops in and watches this later, uh, it is what it is. Um, has an excellent burpee channel. Uh, Definitely check it out if you want to be inspired. Um, there's just the right amount of words. If you tune into my channel, you're going to be bored crapless because you're going to hear me talk about all kinds of stuff. That's maybe some of it has to do with burpees, some of it doesn't. Some of it's all out there, some of it's weird, most of it's weird. Um, but it is what it is. Straight up hard work. And then every so often, bam, he drops a truth bomb. Um, so definitely check it out. And those, we should call it a truth bomb, inspiration bomb, motivation bomb, um, which actually is a pretty good lead in. Uh, what I wrote about this morning on my blog, it's titled By Degrees. And it sort of has to do with self improvement, motivation. I could consider myself at one point um, a self improvement junkie. And the reason for that was a deep, deep unhappiness with who I thought I was, who I appeared to be. Um, and the funny thing is, um, reading, studying, committing myself to all sorts of different practices didn't lead anywhere. There was no big self improvement, sort of. And that's why it's called By Degrees. Um, the funny thing is, when I gave up the notion of a self, And I gave up that notion by discovering through meditation, through self-inquiry, um, that the self is an illusion. Doesn't mean not real, um, but there's no one single inherent self that's present for everything. Um, there's that awareness, but awareness isn't personality. Um, think about your personality when you were 2. Think about your personality when you were 17. Think about it whatever age you are now. Is it exactly the same? You know what is the same is that singular awareness that has never changed. You were aware when you were born, that very instant you arrived. Of course, you had no labels. So you were aware, but you couldn't say, I'm aware of my mother, I'm aware of my father, I'm aware of a hospital room. You were just simply aware, no labels, innocent. The funny thing is, that innocent remains right now. It's never changed, never gone anywhere. We've just learned how to put labels on things. Labels aren't bad. Um, it's a shortcut to getting what we need, to getting what we want. Um, Instead of just pointing in a general direction and having somebody guess, we want the salt shaker, you know, past the whatever. Um, Labels are useful. The thing is that we believe labels are the thing, and they aren't. And that applies to us, and that applies to the people that we care about. Um, Mom, dad, wife, husband. It's a label. That's not who they are. That's who they are in circumstances in our life, which is good. However, if we only relate to labels, we're doing a grave injustice to that person, to their beingness, to their essence, to who they are, as well as to us, as well as to our relationship. So we don't need to drop labels. We just need to broaden our attention, broaden our awareness, allow that natural, innocent awareness that was present when we were born. It'll be present when we die, and who knows, ever present. Um, we could call it nirvana. We could call it heaven. We can call it the kingdom of heaven. Um, it's the same thing, you know. When Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within, he didn't ask you to look to the heavens. Look inside. When you look inside and you find that awareness, you found the kingdom of heaven within, because that awareness is unconditional. It doesn't say, I'm aware of this, I'm aware of that, I'm aware of whatever. Even the things that we don't like and we withdraw our attentions from, awareness remains. So I was saying I am thank you. And I know, talking about the kingdom of heaven, I know talking about the teachings of Jesus, I know that's a big, um, important teaching for you, and an important lesson that you have in your life. Sometime, if you ever think about it, be great to have a non-burpee or post-burpee, a few words of what brought you there. And really, I think to me, that's inspiration right there, is how do we arrive to that faith? How do we arrive to what we believe? That's generally what I write about, what I talk about when I talk about meditation, when I talk about prayer work that I've done, self-inquiry, asking myself, who am I? And the thing is, when you ask, who am I, you can't settle for an answer, because every answer is that label. You have to keep going and keep asking until you get to that point where you don't know. And then you've discovered the mystery. And then you've discovered who you are. And it can't be told. As it says in the Tao Te Ching, the Tao that can be told is not the true Tao. It's not the true Tao, but it isn't the absence of the Tao, because the Tao is ever present. We could say the same thing with God. As the Hebrews say, God is. And anything after that really doesn't need to be said, because it's already included. God is. Where is the absence of that? Where is the exclusion of that? It doesn't say God is and then stops, but not here. Everywhere, the Tao. So, let me read real quick from my blog. This is called By Degrees. It doesn't feel right to call it self-improvement. most especially as there's little real improvement, and any sense of self is seen through as a temporary assignment to a role well played. So there's no one present that actually needs to be improved. And yet everything has changed. Life seems just a bit easier by degrees, lighter somehow, as if unburdened by a weight that I never knew was being carried. And of course, things are much the same as always. So let's call it self-surrender, or even better, simply letting go. Again, my life is easier by degrees, perhaps barely registered on a scale of self-improvement. My issues are still present, some large, others reduced to seldom being noticed. Honestly, I couldn't really say what's better or how things have exactly changed for the better. There's just no measurement here. My actions aren't given towards a goal or judgment, not even in regard to the benefits that I might have been initially seeking when I began this practice. Meditation is an example. Started decades ago in the hope that at the very least, I would be a more efficient, happier person, and at best, ultimately, I would be enlightened. Maybe some of that has been realized. I'm certainly happier, and it wouldn't take much to be more efficient than I was back then, being a heavy drinker and lost in the fantasy that there was a worthless person inside of me. Meditation changed me, yet it wasn't by my own effort. It wasn't self-improvement in any possible way, and I have no way to possibly describe it. Little desire to actually try. As I meditated, everything changed, easier by degrees. Same with yoga, breath work, some forms of self-inquiry. All things I practice, but no longer with a goal in mind. They're not an endeavor embarked on for transformation, although I've been transformed, just not the way I would have imagined so long before, back when I was so hopeful that I could be a better man, improved upon in every measure. That person is actually gone. Really, he never existed at all. There was only the myth of self-improvement, but no self, or at least not a singular one. There was no lasting persona that survived the decades of deep silence found through meditation, disappearing in a long stretch of a yoga pose, with only the breath sweeping through the body, not even a witness to observe its motion. From very first sitting, very first yoga pose, no self exists that has ever been improved, no self that has lasted to this day, although everything that has changed, subtle somehow by degrees, with no true or lasting self having been involved. So that's basically a long way. I'm reading your question here. Thanks. 23 years being sober. It was an odd, I remember the moment that I stopped as well, and how it happened, and how at the time it was life altering, and I knew it at that very moment when it happened, that if I wanted, I never had to take another drink again, ever. And I never did. Tempted at times, yeah, but never anything. That's the thing with an epiphany. An epiphany is that sudden strike, and everything is different. To truly live a life of sobriety, for me, an epiphany, you can't call it in. You can't demand an epiphany, although you can get on your knees and ask. You can put in the work that might lead you towards one. Bill W. himself had a epiphany, and he realized the importance of that, which is why he included it in the 12 steps, that you need that shift. Funny thing is, it's not a shift of personality. That if you were an asshole when you were drinking, or before you started drinking, there's pretty good odds that you might be an asshole afterwards, unless you put in the work. By that, I don't mean self-improvement, because as I read, there's no way to go through life gritting your teeth, trying to make things different. However, we can let go of the things that no longer serve us. We can let go of that person who used to drink, of that personality. We can let go of everything. In truth, it's already let go. We just keep bringing things back by memory, by habit, by force. Once something is let go, it's gone. We don't need to bring it back. So I can't say I got nothing out of self-help. I certainly learned how to grit my teeth and put in the work. It made me an ultra runner. It made me a power lifter back in the day. It made me an Olympic lifter, a kettlebell sport athlete. It made me do 110 Navy SEALs today. But also, I always talk about the difference between motivation and inspiration. That motivation is that outside force that gets us up and going, but it's short term. Every single ultra runner knows what it's like when you've taken your last step and you know you can't possibly take another, and yet somehow you cover the last mile. It's magic. It's mystery. But willpower gave out. That's when spirit takes over. Spirit doesn't rely on willpower. Spirit relies on that subtle energy of the universe, that subtle energy of our true essence, the subtle energy of trees and ground and air and breath, other people lending you energy. None of that is motivation. All of that is inspiration. So a few books that have been helpful that go beyond self-help. We hold one up. I don't know if you can see it. Looks backwards to me. 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. Success Redefined. This is a book on the surface that seems to be about self-improvement, getting what I want. However, written by Deepak Chopra. I am, for full disclosure, a certified meditation instructor through Deepak Yoga's organization, and couldn't be happier to do it. I've practiced his method of meditation for 25 years or so, and then previous practices for another 7+ before that. This is a book based upon yoga, meditation, ancient Vedic, the ancient seers, wisdom. And let me give you a little, it's actually a signed copy too, by the way, Deepak to Eric and Mocha. Chapters, The Law of Pure Potentiality. You can tell right there that it's not a self-help book, because potentiality means that what you want, what you desire, is already in existence. It's not absence. It's not absent from you. You don't need to go out and get it. You need to find a way to allow it. You need to find a way to allow success to happen, because success is who you are. It's your birthright. You've already won the lottery. You're here. You've defied the odds. Can you imagine the odds of the universe happening at all? From a singularity, compressed energy, a point smaller than the smallest particle, but packed with energy, expanding, creating time and space as we go. Time and space as it didn't exist until that happened. When we think of nothing, it's hard for us to get to that absolute level of not even time and space existing. And that's the way it was. That's the way science tells it. for what that's worth. And it expanded through this great wave of energy, again creating time and space, and created a universe just perfect for us to be. If one thing happened to a single cell ocean creature billions of years ago that was our ancestor, if something happened to that, we wouldn't be here. There's a philosopher, and I can't quite remember his name. He's actually a philosopher and mathematician, who says the likelihood of not some sort of divine inspiration that has created the universe, and we can call that God, we can call it the Tao, we can call it our Buddha nature, is like imagining a hurricane going through a junkyard, and in its passing, a 747 is left. That it took all that junk, all that stuff spread all over the place, and swept through and created a perfectly flyable 747 out of that material. That's the likelihood of the Big Bang happening, and just by chance, by random chance, and life being as it is. I'm not using that as a proof positive of anything. Everyone is entitled to the faith they have and how they came about to have that faith. But what I am saying is, no matter how you view it, the fact that we're here at all is a mystery, is an amazing miracle. And here we are. Pure potentiality. We already won the lotto. We already won the lottery. Anything that we achieve after this is just a bonus. So the law of pure potentiality, the law of giving, the law of karma or cause and effect, the law of least effort, my favorite law. That has to do with meditation, how we meditate, and the synchronistic events that come into our life through that practice to bring us our desires with least effort on our part. The law of intention and desire, the law of detachment, the law of Dharma, purpose of life. For me, it's a very important book. It's a book that I come back to often, yearly, and then also use as a reference. Highly recommend it. It's not a book of motivation. It's not a book of self-improvement. It is a book of learning who we are, which is the same with I Am That, Nisargata Maharishi. And again, this is a book about discovering the mystery of the self, the mystery of who we are, what we are, how it's all connected. It is a book of discovering God not through any other source than ourselves. Very important book. It's a book that I've been reading for 30 years, probably 30 plus years. I'm never finished. I will read through it. I'll start at the beginning. I'll go to the end. I'll start at the beginning. I'll go to the end. I'll also pick it up at random and just start reading. It's a book that's not meant to be finished. It is a book that we are meant to soak in. Just the vibration of the book alone. There's a few books like that, and I've talked about them before. We can say the Tao Te Ching, we can say the Bible, we can say the Bhagavad Gita, we can say the Dharmapada. All of these are seminal classics that have stood the test of time. I Am That is another book that by its very vibration, carrying it with us, we end up soaking up that knowledge. You can take the Tao Te Ching and put it in your, it's this big. Thank you. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. Look forward to catching your reps again tomorrow. And I know it's going to be another 3 pump, 5 pump, I know it's going to be a big set, no matter what the numbers are, because you never do anything less but bring the reps. Um, so some books are just packed with the a vibrational quality that changes you on its own. That's how meditation works. You don't sit down to meditate to affect the change. You sit down and meditate to meditate. And then what happens is things change. Everything changes. Who you are changes. Appreciate you too, my friend. Um, it's the same with breath work. Um, you don't take a breath to become calm. You take a breath and you're calm. It calms you. You pick up a book like I Am That, not to affect change, but to soak up the words, to hold them deeply within. So, again, self-help. Do we need to do it? I don't know. Maybe. Um, maybe some of us do, and maybe some of us do until we don't. And it's exactly what we need to get to the point of doing what we exactly need to do. Meaning we can't discount a step. We can't discount where we are and what we're doing, because it's where we are and it's what we're doing. Who knows where we're going to be next? Doesn't matter. Ram Dass said it best. Be here now. Here's the amazing thing. We'll end it with this. Here's the amazing thing. We are already here, already now. No place else to be. We had to do absolutely nothing to get here. We didn't have to join an ashram. We didn't have to take a yoga class. We didn't have to sit and meditate. We didn't have to do breath work. We didn't have to do self-inquiry. We are right here now. Pretty simple. Universe works that way. It brings us exactly where we need to be, because this is exactly where we need to be. All right, guys. I'm going to end it for the day. Thanks for popping in. And I will see you tomorrow for burpees. And I will see you tomorrow for talking about whatever. Anything you guys want to talk about, any questions on any subject, even if it's a subject I'm not familiar with, I will make something up completely on the fly and talk about it. Not advice. Don't give advice. It would be worthless advice at best, and it'd be worthless advice at worst. However, I'm just happy to dialogue and see, so see where we go together. So feel free to ask a question. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know anything. You can tell me that maybe I'm not suited for life as a YouTube personality. I would agree with you 100%. However, as I was just saying, as Ram Dass said, here I am. It's the best that I can do. That's it, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.